Hello and welcome back to the Caleb Adamo channel. Today we are going to be looking at reviewing the new Little Simz album, Sometimes I Might Be Introvert. Little Simz is a 27-year-old rapper from Islington in London. This is the second full project that I've heard from her that I have listened to personally, and it's following on from her previous project which came out in 2019 called Grey Area. What we're going to do today is we're going to go through each of the tracks one by one. I'm going to give you a very brief overview, thoughts on or opinions on each track, and then I'll give you a little bit of my opinion on the album as a whole. I'll give it a score and we'll wrap up the review. Okay, so starting at number 1, we had the track Introvert, which Little Simz released as a single before the album came out, and this was a very cinematic kind of grandeur moment on the album, given that it was the opening as well. It was talking all about the idea of national kind of corruption and governmental corruption, and it almost felt like this call to arms that Little Simz was putting out there, and for that to be the introduction to this album, the intro track, I thought that was really, really cool from Little Simz. I liked the song before I heard the whole album because I had heard this as the single, and this was the only single I heard from the album, even though she released a few more, and it was a good track. So track number 2 was titled Woman. This featured Cleo Sol, who Little Simz has worked with before. I think this song was a real highlight on the album for me personally. I really liked the idea that Simz was paying homage to or homage, however you pronounce the word, to all the women in her life that has kind of inspired her or have helped or that she looks up to, really. I thought that was really cool, and I liked Cleo Sol's voice or vocals over the chorus. I thought that was a really nice inclusion as well. Then we move on to the third track, Two Worlds Apart. So I really like Lil Simz' flow in this track. I really liked the way that she worked over the beat. I thought it was really nice. I'm not exactly entirely sure who Little Simz was talking to, but it very much seemed to be a direct address to one person, maybe an ex-loved one, as in somebody that she was involved with romantically. I don't know for sure, but possibly, talking about their differences and how Little Simz differs from this other person and how that can be a good thing and a bad thing, but it just is a fact. So I thought that was an interesting look into Little Simz' personal life. Then we move on to track 4, I Love You, I Hate You. Now this was another very cinematic opening. The first couple of seconds were this very dramatic kind of orchestral opening that then goes into a very kind of bouncy beat. But this song was a really personal song, or it felt really personal to Little Simz, who seemed to be, again, these are just my interpretations of the tracks, but it seemed to be Little Simz talking to her father or a father figure and having this whole kind of dual issue and love, hate and love, as the title I Love You, I Hate You kind of indicates, but this dual battle going on in her head and her mind with this person, with this father figure. And it felt really personal. I really liked the insight that Little Simz gave. I really liked the way that she worked over the beat. I thought it was a really good track. This was another one of the highlights for me. There were lots of highlights on this album. Spoiler, it's quite good. Then we go on to track 5, Little Q, Part 1, Interlude. So this was the first of 5 interludes on the album. Somebody called Quidus, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that wrong, who gave this kind of dramatic monologue over the track, and it seemed to be him praying, talking to God for guidance and help. God and religion, looking to God, does seem again to be a little bit of a theme on this album, so I thought that was really interesting. Then that track kind of rolls into track number 6, Little Q, Part 2. So this, like I said, this track continues in terms of production on from the interlude just before, and it uses the same vocal sample from the interlude, carries on into this track, and the song gives a kind of insight into Simz' upbringing. And the second verse talks about a time in which Little Simz details how she got stabbed, or talks about a stabbing and trying to reason out why the person that committed the act against her might have done so, and almost feeling sympathetic for that person. So that was really interesting, a really weird discussion, and again it ties into the whole God discussion and the forgiveness and the acceptance and the understanding why somebody is a certain way, which again I think was a massive theme on this album, understanding why somebody was a certain way. Then we go on to track 7, Gems, which was another interlude. It had some spoken word from Emma Corrin, who is an actress best known for her work in the British television show The Crown. I don't know a lot about Emma Corrin, but she's on the rest of the interludes throughout the rest of the album. In this interlude, she was kind of giving advice to Little Simz, and you had a passage from Emma and then a passage from Little Simz kind of responding to Emma almost, and then back into Emma giving advice on how Simz should move forwards and be acting, and Little Simz in the middle seems to be worrying about how she can be the best kind of person or artist or individual that she can be. So that was interesting. Then we move on to track 8, Speed. This was my second favourite beat on the album. I really enjoyed this beat. It had a great bass line and kind of drum loop repeating over and over, and it was something that you could quite easily bop your head to. I really enjoyed that. The whole track was about Little Simz, or seemed to be Little Simz, talking about proving people wrong and showing that she's better than their expectations of her and kind of breaking through that glass ceiling that people have put out there for her. It had some great wordplay on this track. I think this was one of the best lyrical tracks on the album, and it had this reference to Kanye that I really enjoyed, his track off of the 2013 album Yeezus, a track on that album called Blood on the Leaves. So that was really cool. And then you go into track 9, Standing Ovation. This had Simz talking about how she's been working in the industry and has been on top of her game for the last 10 years now. Well, that's what she quotes in the track, talks about being there and active for the last 10 years. Now she wants her credits for this, she wants her flowers. To put it metaphorically, she wants to be noticed as somebody who's been working really hard and producing consistently great music. And I think, to be fair to her, I've got to give it to Little Simz. This is getting to a stage now where she is a really, really good, consistent artist. She's kind of getting notoriety from the likes of Lauryn Hill, Kendrick Lamar. So yeah, I'm constantly impressed and agree with her. She does deserve a standing ovation, as the track title would suggest. And then we go on to the next track, I See You, track number 10. This was a lot more chill, had a lot more chill production. It seemed a little bit like a love letter. I don't know Little Simz' personal life situation. I don't know if she's in a relationship or not, but it seemed to be a little bit of a love letter, talking about somebody that makes her happy, and she feels like she's in a dream state and hopes that she never wakes up from it, because this is what makes her happy, this person makes her happy. So that was an interesting and I guess kind of personal track. So then we go into the next interlude, track number 11. So the rapper that came to T interlude, where Emma Corrin comes back and kind of questions Sim's ability to succeed, or it seems like she's questioning her ability to exceed, because like the title of the album suggests, Little Simz is discussing the idea that she is an introvert and she's an introverted person. That is not something that society necessarily upholds or sees to be a good thing, especially when you're trying to make it in the music industry, when you're trying to make it in the entertainment industry. Being introverted can often be seen as something that holds you back. And Emma on this track, the sample or whatever it is, I'm not sure if it was a recording from something or not, but seems to be questioning whether or not Little Simz has what it takes to make it, even though, like Little Simz has already been talking about, she feels like she's made it already to an extent. So then we go into my favourite track, track 12, Rolling Stone, which was my favourite track on the album. I loved the beat on this. This was the closest to kind of UK grime drill inspired production that we got on the album. It was a really hard beat. It switched halfway through to having these almost like cowbell sounds over this kind of creepy atmospheric production, and I loved that song. I thought it was really good. It was very much a bragging song, so going from the interlude just before, questioning whether or not Little Simz has what it takes, being an introvert, to make it in the rap game and make it as a successful artist. Little Simz then comes in really hard with I'm great, look at me, look at everything I've done, I have what it takes, don't need any of y'all to tell me what to do, it doesn't matter, I'm making it. And I really love this song. I would have liked to actually have seen more of this kind of production, this grimy, drilly soundscape that she was using on this track, because it was a little bit of an oddball in terms of it didn't quite fit in with the more chilled, cinematic kind of production that the rest of the album entailed. So then we go on to track 13, Protect My Energy, in which it has this almost 80s style drum line and synth sounds, and Lil Simz was discussing the value that she places in being introverted and actually seeing it as a good thing and something that can benefit her, and she just knows what she needs. It's not something that has to hold her back. So that was really interesting. And then that kind of slipped into the 14, which was an interlude, had these choir-like vocals saying never make promises, just repeated over and over. Still not worked out exactly what I think she's trying to get at here, but introverts are people stereotypically who don't like being out in social situations all that much or all the time, and so I wondered if it was a bit of advice to herself or to other people, especially coming in from the previous track talking about the value she puts in being introverted, whether it was a bit of advice saying don't make promises you can't keep, know yourself and understand yourself. Then we slip into the next track, Point and Kill, which features a bong jaya. I might have absolutely butchered that, but again, Little Simz has worked with that artist before, and he featured singing vocals on the chorus, which was really nice. This track, in terms of content, was about being lethal with anything holding you back, in terms of just cutting it off, axing off anything in your life that might be keeping you from success or holding you back in any sense. And then that's basically the same content in the next track, Fear No Man, which I did actually really like, but it was similar in content in terms of don't let anyone be the reason that you are held back. Don't let your fear for anyone or anything, don't let your fear for not succeeding or for being seen in a certain way or a certain light that doesn't actually match how you see yourself. Don't let that hold you back from doing what you want to do. So I thought that was really interesting. I thought Little Simz had 2 tracks there that maybe didn't vary that much in terms of content, but both added to the overall theme of the album, which we'll get to in a second. So then track number 17, The Garden Interlude. Okay, so this was the final interlude on the album. It was fine, was more Emma Corrin, again, giving advice to Little Simz on how to best progress going forwards in her career and in her life. So then we had track number 18, How Did You Get Here? So this was a very reflective look at Little Simz's kind of career and life progression, and how she has made it, or how she's gotten to the point where she's at now, where she feels more comfortable in her success and in her abilities, her ability to rap, her ability to make songs and brilliant albums like this. So that was another really personal kind of track, which is something that comes up quite a bit on the album. The idea of getting an insight into Little Simz and who she is as a person and how she feels about herself, which I really enjoyed and really liked. And then finally we had the final track on the album, Misunderstood, which even the title was an interesting play on words. Miss in terms of title, and then understood. So being somebody who is known for being understood, and missing in terms of avoiding or getting away from being able to understand. And in terms of understanding, Little Simz seems to be talking about being sympathetic and understanding of people, and how people don't always or haven't always understood her as a person. And she seems to be coming to the realisation that she is growing as a person and realising who she is and what importance that has on her career and her life and how that has changed her. So I thought that was really cool. And again, it was a really cinematic closing to kind of tie the whole album together to almost feel like a film. And I really enjoyed that aspect of the song. So overall, I really enjoyed this album. I thought that Sometimes I Might Be Introvert, which by the way is an acronym, SIMBI, Simbi, which is actually a nickname for Little Simz, and it's something she goes by, especially with friends and stuff, Simbi. So that was a really cool inclusion, and it just kind of contributes to the idea that this whole album is about Little Simz discussing who she is, why that is important, and how that actually helps her. Knowing herself is important for anybody. Knowing yourself is always important, and being able to translate that into an amazing cinematic album, very cinematic album, in terms of production and the orchestras she uses and some of the soundscapes that are very ethereal and very chill in many senses, not dramatic in terms of danger or the energy levels being really, really high, but in terms of being very beautifully composed. And it is a beautiful insight into Little Simz as a person and as an artist, and I enjoyed this album quite a lot, and it's probably up there in terms of going to be one of my favourite albums of the year. I'm going to give it an 8.1, so it was good. I really enjoyed it. It definitely is in the upper echelons of albums that I've listened to this year. I would have liked a little bit more variety in terms of the beats. Like I said, my favourite beat on this whole album was on the song Rolling Stone, and I just maybe would have liked a little bit more energy to be put in terms of that track, because it stuck out a little bit like a sore thumb. And not that I didn't enjoy the rest of the album, but that song was a highlight for me, and so I just would have liked a little bit more. But it's a minor gripe. I thought Little Simz did amazingly, and I can't wait to hear what she has coming down the pipeline later. If she needs to take a break, you do what you gotta do, Little Simz. This was a brilliant project, and I'm so glad I got to hear it. Yeah, let me know how you're feeling about the album. If you are new here, please subscribe down below. It'd be awesome to see some new names and faces around here. Please drop a like on the video. Let me know in the comments below whether you thought I was waffling today, whether I was making up a load of rubbish, or whether you agreed with me. Either way, my next video coming out later this week, I'm going to have a tracklist ranking for Donda. Keep an eye out for that. Check out any previous videos that you might have missed, and thank you for watching. See you later.